Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Paint with Sean. So today we are going to do another painting completely from scratch, just out of my head. Um, I haven't used an example in a while, and so I'm probably going to do one of those here in the near future where we actually have a picture and we're trying to recreate it. But today we're just going to have some more fun and we're going to do a little painting and see how far we go. So we're going to start with a little bit of a timer for ourselves. So I want to make sure that we are, utilizing our time effectively. And so what I found is actually putting a clock in front of myself to see how long I'm taking to paint. I can get away from the need to feel like it has to be perfect. We can sit here and spend hours trying to make a painting perfect and never really get it where we want to be. And a lot of times, some of our best work tends to come when we put it on and just walk away. We don't play with it too much. So today I want to do some really bright colors. I'm very excited about changing the way things look in the world and what our viewpoint is. And the landscapes are great, but if every sky is always pure blue, it's kind of boring. And so today I want to do something very dynamic to kind of get some color on the page. I'd really like to do a lot of yellows and reds and oranges, and even maybe some purple in there, to really just mix it up. Nature is amazing in the way that it varies the colors that we get to see. And so really getting excited about paying attention to color and possibility. And sometimes you just have to make it up and maybe it isn't real and you just enjoy certain colors together. So you guys can play with this as you want, but today I'm going to show you some hot colors on the page. And I've got the top half of this covered with an acrylic gesso. It's sort of a white treatment that you can put on there. It's what they use to prime the canvases so that they don't absorb the paint and bleed through. But I'm using it just as sort of a wetting agent for the background. So when we paint this on, it's really going to blend and make some really cool colors. So I've got a really dark purple here. It says violet. So I just putting a little bit on here. You can always add more, but if you're just getting started and you're just trying to learn and you don't want to spend a bunch of money, paint is pretty cheap, especially when you're just doing acrylics. But if you just put a little bit on there, then you can save some that you may not have used if you just fill the whole thing with it. So we're gonna get some purple and some yellow and some red here. I'm gonna get some white, and we're gonna have a good time painting a nice hot colored sky, some real dynamic stuff, and we'll just play a little bit today. So I haven't mapped this out in any way, but I know in the past when I've painted these sorts of skies, it's always been really fun. So we're going to start with the dark color first, which is our purple. Now there's already white on here, so everything that we put on here is going to be lighter than what it appears in the paint tray. So I'm going to take just some straight purple, and this is pretty dark. You can see that this is a pretty strong color here. And the darker piece I want to put in the corner so that we can really have the highlight of the main part of the picture in the middle with the hot colors. But the dark stuff against the light really creates this dynamic combination. So I'm not going to go quite to the corner, but I've got some just on the corner of the brush here, and I'm going to start putting some color down. Now, the dark area is over here, and the farther away you get from that, the lighter it's going to get because it has less paint on the brush. You're also picking up some of that white and mixing with it. So this is going to be the dark area, so we're just going to kind of blend away from it. All right? And you can do this to as much as you would like to do, and you can leave some dark areas and you can have some highlights, and you can blend this as much as you want. and make it really nice and soft, and you can have some color going on. Okay, and this is completely up to you, however you want to make this look, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, if there's a few little paint streaks in there, that's okay, because there's going to be a lot of dynamics in the sky. All right, so this dark area that's going on here, I don't want to kill it all, but we want to really, oh, there we go. We can just kind of move the paint around. And that's a lot of what painting is. It's really just mixing and moving paint. So it doesn't have to be anything that comes with a lot of stress or bars of standards, right? You can kind of do it how it feels good, all right? And so we can play with this as much as we want, but we've got a good little color there. So now, because this is such a dark color, I'm going to go to the next darkest color, which is red, and I want to leave this on here just to kind of mix the paint a little bit. So I'm going to go right into the red, and I'm going to do the same kind of thing here. All right, so I'm going to pick a spot and make it real dark and blend out from there. Okay, and so now you can see we start to meld these colors together. And I can bring some of that purple in over here. You see how that's still on the brush? It's going to distribute through the rest of the painting. And so we can really make a dynamic sky. And now that we have red on here, we can even come over here and blend a little bit. Okay? And so you can really create however you want this to look. And all of these little lines from the brush strokes are actually okay, because if you look at the sky, it has lines, usually from clouds, but we can see the colors. We can see where things break and flow in the sky. It's kind of cool like that. Okay, so not everything even needs to be perfectly even. Okay, so we've got our red in there. Now we're going to jump right into the yellow. Now this yellow is going to be a very high contrasting color. So I'm going to do this in two places. I'm going to put some over on this side and some over here that is right against this dark color. Okay, so again, dirty brush going right into the yellow. We're just going to pick a spot and we're going to blend out from there. Okay, and so we can really create, even with some of this dark that's in it, okay, we can really create a lot of dynamics going on in the sky and kind of just blend this together. Now you can see this is starting to get a little bit dry here. It's not mixing very well. So you can always dip your brush in water. Okay, I'm just going to barely dip the brush in a little bit of water and come back, and immediately that starts to blend. Okay, so we're going to have a really dynamic looking colored sky. We've got the yellows, we've got the reds going on, but I want to get some over there on the other side so it really has an opportunity to contrast. Ooh, I really like that going on. Some of those dark colors. So we're going to get a little bit more yellow going on, just a tad. This goes quite a long ways. And again, this may be a little bit dry, so if I need to, I can just grab a little bit more paint or even some water, depending on how strong you want this color to be. Okay, and we're just going to blend this up. And so we're going to have this real hot yellow spot going on for us. And the more times we go over it, the more it will blend out. We can push a little bit more, and we're going to pull some other colors off of the brush. All right. And I'm just going to kind of smooth this out a little bit. Blend everything together. Let it all kind of flow. Okay. So we've got a real awesome looking sky here. So now again, we can do as much as we want within this. We can always add more color to this and change how it flows. So maybe right here where I don't have as much color, we can get a little bit crazy and maybe mix some colors. All right, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to mix a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, and some white. And again, same dirty brush. I haven't even washed this thing. And this is going to create a little bit of an orange color, but on the lighter scale. All right, and so depending on how hard you push on this, that's how much is going to come off of the brush. So if you do a real light, you can distribute some paint very effectively without putting too much on the canvas. Okay, so just a real light touch, I can throw some of that orange in there. Okay, and we can put this wherever we want on the page. If we want some orange over here, flip the brush, a little bit of extra pressure comes right off the brush. Okay, and so we can start to create some real cool dynamics. Maybe we want a little bit of orange up here where it's not quite as filled in with some color up here. So again, we can make this real light touch, and we can just blend this down into it. And you can make it whatever you want. Okay, so this is a sky that maybe you've never seen in real life, but depending on how the atmosphere is working and what the weather looks like that day and all kinds of stuff, this kind of sky could be very well possible. And again, if it's not, who cares? It might just be something that looks really cool on paint. So that's what we're really doing here, is just having some fun, right? Putting some paint down, moving some color around. I had really no intention for what this was going to come out to be. So we can again kind of do this as much as we want within this little time frame. Again, I'm trying to keep these to about 30 minutes, mostly to keep your time valuable to you. I don't want to take up too much of your time in any one sake. And so we're going to get into this little painting today, and we'll just go as far as it goes. You know, we don't have to get through the entire thing in one shot, and we can really just enjoy this plan, okay? So now that we've got the sky here, I absolutely love mountains. This is one of the things that I've learned from Bob Ross, is putting mountains on a page creates such a visual focus point, and they're so strong and stately, and it creates such a depth in the painting, but it also is something that is so dynamically detailed at the same time. Usually the faraway stuff is not very detailed, it's kind of vague, but what we're going to create pretty well every time with mountains is something that, even though it's far away, you can still see a lot of dynamics within it. So today we're going to go right back into the same colors here. So with this same dirty brush, I'm just going to scoop over some of this purple and put that over here. And I'm going to add a tad bit of black, because you want this real dark. You want this to really contrast when we go to create a mountain. So I put quite a bit of black in there. And I'm just going to mix this up in here, because it's kind of on top of a lighter color too, so it is going to dull out a little bit. So this purple and black, we want it just a real dark color. So this is a very dark purple. Okay, and I'm not going to use this brush, I'm just going to use the knife. So we'll take the knife here, and I'll just put my brush over here. Haven't even washed it yet. I'm going to scrape this off, and we're going to come up in here and we're going to make a few layers of mountains. So the farther away they are, the smaller they are. Now again, when we paint, we want to contrast the colors, the darks against the lights against the darks. And so I'm going to start over on this left side where I've got this real bright area that will contrast very heavily against this. So we're just going to make our little mountain shape. Now, the height of it and the extent that it comes into the page all play into how far away it looks. So if we want to create a lot of layers and distance, we want to create the first ones to be very small in scale. Okay, so I'm going to use this paint that I've got here, and I'm not going to have a very sharp angle. If I do it like this, it's already going to take up a lot of space on the page. So I want this first little mountain range to kind of be small. And so I want to overlap this hot spot right here just a tad so that it's noticeable. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of create a little bit of a mountain shape. Okay, and again, this doesn't need to be perfect. All right, I don't want this to be too big, but we just want a little bit of a mountain scene going on here over on one side. Okay, and the knife doesn't hold a lot of paint, so you may need to do a couple of reloads of paint in there, and that's okay. We're really just trying to get some shape in here. Okay, we don't have a real plan of how it's going to look. Okay, we just want these mountains to be sort of vague and in the background. Okay, so we'll get some of this dark on here, make it a lot easier to see some of the light stuff going on. Okay, we'll have this just kind of play out like that. All right. And you can make these whatever shape you want, okay? But the taller I make these, the bigger they will look. So I want to keep them kind of small. Now, I don't want to have a whole bunch of this extra dark paint on here, so I'm just going to kind of scrape some of that off. All right. Now, we can do any extent of things that we want off to the right-hand side. But overlapping layers is really where you start to see depth, okay? So when it comes up to this layer, if we put something small right over the edge and it's a little bit bigger and it comes down through here, and then we have another one that is another big layer of mountains over here, then we can really start to create these just depths and valleys and that sort of thing. So we're just going to focus on the first one back here. Again, the lighter, the farther something is away, the lighter the color you want. Now we put a dark color on here because we really want something that it can contrast against. Okay, but we also don't want too much of this in here because it will mix with the color that we put on top of it. Okay, so I'm not really making any kind of actual mountain here. I'm just scraping some of this paint off. So now we want this to be a fairly light color. So I've still got this same dirty brush, but I want to get a big scoop of white. And I'm going to bring this over here in this same dirty little thing in the middle. Okay, we've been mixing this paint. And we still want this to be light enough that it looks like it's far away, but dark enough that it contrasts against this yellow. All right, and again, it's okay if it's not fully mixed. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we've just got this sort of lighter purple color. Now if you hold it up against there, you should be able to see that pretty well, but it doesn't look light enough to me. So I'm just going to dip right back in here, and again, I get real messy when I paint. I'm just going to get a little more white in there, and we can make this as light as we want it to be. So again, you guys can do this however you want. If you want to have a separate brush that you come back and forth with the different paints and that sort of stuff, totally fine. I'm a little messy. I just have a good time with it. So let's just take all the white we can get in there. Let's make this a real light color. So we went from a real dark color to a real light color here. It's the same color, we've just lightened it, so it's a different value. Okay, so now I've got this a lot lighter, and I can still see that contrast, but it's a lot lighter than it was. Okay, so let's get that white in there. Make it as light as we can. I like that. Okay. Now, I don't want to push too hard. The harder you push, the flatter it will make the paint on here. So we want to make sure that when we come to put our paint on here, that first of all we pay attention to the angles of the way that the mountain would flow, but the pressure that we put on here, okay? So I'm going to take the corner of this brush and come right up to the tip of where this would be, and just very light. Okay, very light. So I don't want to take out all the dark, but we want to really lighten this up. Okay, so again, we can come down over here and just very lightly. Okay, and we don't want to take out all that dark. That's what creates the actual depth. So it makes it look like there's a mountain going on there. Okay, it's not just a flat color. And again, you guys can make this as dynamic and simple as you want, but we really want to keep this nice and light. Okay, so if you need to reload some paint because you're picking up some of that darker color, it's okay. And we're just gonna take our little tip here and come in. We're gonna have a little bit going this way, and this one's coming in this way. We've got our mountain working. Okay, so I want to cover up most of the black, but have just a little bit showing for some dynamics. Okay. We want this to really be nice and light and far away. Okay, so even for me, this is almost kind of dark. So we can lighten this up by adding some white as well. So again, I'm going to just throw the white over here in this little corner that it used to be in, but became purple. Okay, and I'm going to mix this in just a little bit. Get some of that color lightened up here. And I'm going to get some white on the tip here and have it just blotted a little bit. Okay, so I want it on there, but I don't want it too clumpy. So this way I can just put a little bit of white in here and it won't be too much. Okay, so we can just throw a little bit on there. And you see how that immediately lightens that up. And we can just follow some of our angles here. And again, don't get too carried away like my dog. I've got a little golden doodle and he thinks he's pretty tough. Alright, we'll bring some white in there. Okay, and again, we don't want this too detailed. I just wanted to really lighten this up more than anything. Okay, so I really want to follow these angles. Keep it nice and light in here. Okay, so we've got our mountain here. It's looking pretty good. So I'm just adding a little bit here. Okay, so now let's go to the next mountain. So the next mountain we want to have in front of this one. Now it doesn't have to be overly big, but it needs to be a little bit darker in color. Okay, so I've got some of this purple still left over here. So same dirty brush, I'm going to grab that darker purple and put this back in here. And now if it doesn't get to the color that I want, I can just put a little bit more in there. All right, so I'm using this same violet color. Just put a little drop in there. The dark colors go very far. So it doesn't take very much to make it drastically darker. All right, so we're gonna mix that around. So we've got ourselves a darker color of purple here. Okay, and so again, we can see that this is gonna show up just a little bit more. Now, I wanna make sure that I put on an even darker color first. So again, we have that background that the light will show up over the top. So we're gonna actually get another brush so we can keep this color on here. And let's just use this little round brush. It doesn't really matter. So we're gonna get some black. And again, just a little bit of this dark goes a long way. So I'm just going to put a little drop of that black in there. Some purple. Alright, we'll mix those together. So appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. We are getting right close down to our time here. We got about 6 minutes left. So we're going to get a little bit more mountain structure going on, and then wherever we leave off, we will just pick up on the next video here. So I want to make sure that this comes over the top here, because this is definitely going to push this mountain back. Now before we put that mountain on, I just realized I probably better put some things down at the bottom of the mountain before we get too far, so that it really represents the structure that needs to be there before we put the over the top. So you always want to work from the back forward, whatever is farthest away you want to do first. So I'm going to take some of that same purple color that I had just mixed up for the next layer, and I'm just going to come in here with the corner of the brush, and I'm just going to put in a little bit of color at the bottom of this and just tap. Okay, now again, this doesn't look too much different than what's already there, and that's okay, because in the places where it's a little bit lighter, it'll show up. The farther away it is, the less detail we want to have in there. We don't want it to seem too much different. So I'm just putting in a little bit of little taps here to make it look like some little trees in the far off distance there. Okay, and we can even get some that go up over the top and bring some of that color in here and kind of lighten it up as we come across. Okay, so we've got a little tree line going on. Let's put in another little mountain structure over the top here. So we're going to come in with our dark color that we mixed up here. And again, we don't want this to be a huge layer, because then the next one can be a little bit bigger and it can continue to bring things forward. So we just want to make sure that when we do this, we overlap. Okay? So this is where the dynamics really start to play in with how things go. And what they look like is based on how you put it together. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this down a little bit. We're going to pull that pink down into our mountains. It's looking good. I love this color. So I'm going to make sure I get some dark on there. Starting to really see some things play out. So as you can see, this automatically makes this look even farther back in the distance. Okay, so I really want to make sure we've got a good amount of this dark color right along the edges here. This is really what's important. Okay, these edges are really what we're going to see here. And again, we don't want this too dark because it's still a little away in the distance for us. So we just want to make sure that we've got a good base color underneath that we can put a lighter color to and have it contrast against. That's what this is really about. Okay, we're going to just pull that out. Okay, as far as you want that to go. All right, so we are just a couple minutes off here. I want to make sure I'm conserving time for you guys. All right, so last step here, we're going to come in with our almighty knife, is what Bob always called it. Okay, so we've got this color, and I'm going to leave this one for the shadow color. And so I'm going to grab some white here and bring it over. And we're going to get some on the knife, and this is not going to be a pure white. I don't want it to be quite that visible, okay? So it's marbled a little bit with some of that purple, and that's okay. So I'm going to come right here at the top, get a little angle, and we're just going to pull, no pressure, just barely let it come down and touch the canvas. So we want it to break. We want that dynamic in the color, okay? And we can come in here and we can make this however we want. All right, and you can You can play with this as much as you decide. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit more white in here. I'm going to throw one more little bit of some strong color on here. Okay, and so you see that line, it makes it look like that just wraps around right there. So you can really play with this and have some fun creating some dynamics in the way that your mountains work. So this is going to be the light side of our mountains. Okay, and I like that some of that pink is showing through. Okay, we can leave that little bit of that in there because it's like a highlight color off of the sky. Okay. All right. We've got that going. Last part is going to be this little brush. So we've got our shadow color. Oh, and there's our timer. Okay, so we're going to do this real quick because we've got a wet brush and it doesn't take very long. So we're just going to throw this in here and we just want to come down. Okay, we want to create this little shadow color on the back side of some of this. And again, we don't want to cover up all this dark. The dark is what allows the light to really stand out. Okay, so we just want to put a little bit of this lighter color in here and we can have this come in any direction you want, as long as it looks like it flows with the mountain. Okay, so I'm going to throw a little bit of this light color on the back side here, and we're just going to allow this to flow down the mountain. And it looks like we've got some dynamic things going on. Okay, so we're going to end it here today, guys. We've got a great little mountain range going on. I'm just putting some dark color in there again to contrast with the light colors that we've got working. We've got a farther away mountain set. We've got one that's a little bit closer. We're going to come back next time and build an even bigger mountain structure with a darker color so it looks like it's even closer to us. And we're going to continue adding these amazing layers in this picture. So again, guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me for a little bit. We've got a good start to this one. We're going to continue in the next one. So I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day.